Ladies and gentlemen,
this is the one we've all been waiting for. It's good night, freaking Irene!
let's get ready to rumble!
Time! And knows how to knock people the fire truck out.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fight Chase Muay Thai and MMA podcast, the #1 combat sports podcast. I am your host, Kelly Green from Fight Chase, joined, as always, by my good friend and co-host, Kurt Brooks from Carson Kickboxing Club. Today, we have a very special guest joining us from the motherland of Muay Thai, Cyrus Black Dynamite Washington. Cyrus is a professional Muay Thai and Lethwei fighter. Cyrus is recognized as the first Westerner to go and win a world title in Lethwei in Myanmar. So let's get into it.
Hey, how you doing?
How's it going?
Cyrus, how's it going, buddy?
Pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Hanging in there. I'm cold, but it's all good.
Where are you right
I'm in New Hampshire right now, and Kurt, who's also on the line, is he's over near Reno in Nevada.
Oh, okay.
And let's get right into it. So, Cyrus, you're in Thailand now, and how long have you been going over to Thailand?
First of all, I want to say thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I have been going to Thailand or coming to Thailand now 11, going on 12 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one of the pioneers then.
Yep, yeah. I first came out 2007, 2008. The trainer that I had at the time told me if I wanted to do Muay Thai for real, then I needed to go to Thailand. And it was about less than a year. Less than a year later, I packed my stuff up and I got out here, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world once you get over there. And I'm sure that long ago it had to be even crazier. It's just like,
oh yeah.
I mean, I've been going over for almost, was it like 5 or 6 years now? And so is Kurt, about the same time. Kurt was going a little longer. But even in that short time, we've seen the change of just the influence of technology on like the young people and just changes that have happened that quick in that short of a time. So I can imagine, 5 more years on top of that, there had to be even less tourists and things like that and the developments and stuff. It was funny as I actually saw a video of you at Top Team, and it was a pretty old video because there was one ring at Top Team and there was barely any bags, and then it showed you doing some road work, like running on the soy there, and there was like barely any businesses either. There was still trees on the soy.
Yeah.
That had to be a while.
Yeah, probably like 2009, 2010, maybe
Yeah.
It was 2011. But yeah, man, when I first got out to Phuket, man, it was beautiful. It was a lot of jungle and a lot less concrete. All those businesses on the soy, they definitely weren't there. There was only maximum 2 restaurants on the soy at that time. There was Mama's, that's been there for a long time.
Yep.
And then there's like a normal little table and chair restaurant that was set up, you know what I'm saying, at someone's house. And most people just went and ate there.
Yeah.
One massage shop. And that was really about it as far as businesses on the soy. Yeah, man, it's changed a lot. It's like oversaturated with all sorts of stuff, which is convenient, but a little, I guess a little OD too, because it gets really busy on that street now.
Yeah, I was there. I was at Top Team probably like 8 months ago, and my buddy Khalil Roundtree, the UFC fighter, he was over at Tiger at that point, and I was telling him because he had actually trained in Bangkok for 3 months before he went there, and then when we were on the soy, he's like, "Man, this isn't even like Thailand." I'm like, I had been in Thailand a good 8 months before that, and I was like, this is the most I've heard English since I've been here.
Right.
It's not like being in Thailand whatsoever.
You're right about that. I agree with that for sure. Yeah, it kind of gives a lot of people, a lot of fighters, and people that come out to Thailand to train Muay Thai. It gives them like a false sense of what Thailand really is. I recommend go out and explore a little bit. You know what I mean? Go out to some of the rural areas like Ubon and Chiang Mai. Come to Pattaya. It's a little different here.
Yeah.
And you'll definitely hear more Thai language and get to train around more Thais versus training with the foreigners. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, that's kind of how like I started Fight Chase is just wherever I would go in Thailand, I would just randomly find a gym, whether it was just walking around or I would just Google like what gyms were in the area and just go into a gym and train. It was like I didn't do the whole what's the best gym. I kind of wanted to see what all the gyms were. And
Right.
I totally fell in love with the smaller gyms. You know, just a dirty one ring. The bags are kind of falling apart, but the training is great.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think that's one of the big faults of people nowadays. They just hop on Google. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
back in the day, we didn't really have that. There was like one website. I think it was MuayThailand.com, and you could kind of see what gyms were in Thailand. But I mean, like you said, the main thing most people did was you just kind of traveled around and found a gym. You tried out, and if you liked it, you liked it. If you didn't, then you found another gym. You know?
Yeah, and it's funny is people don't know it until they go there. We've talked about it a bunch of times on the podcast. Is when you're walking around, you can find gyms just because you hear like the hitting of the bags and people yelling.
Yeah.
You don't have to like really know where they are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's real hard to find a gym if you're sitting back in the States, and just Googling gyms because, you're not Googling them in Thai. So it's like you're just going to get the one that has the best marketing team towards Westerners.
Right, right. The best SO, what is it, SEO or
Yeah,
SOE, something like
the
that.
SEO.
You know,
Yeah,
yeah, the ones with the most money will, you know what I mean, they'll have the best ones. So,
yeah, Tiger.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they got the market
yeah,
cornered really.
Like
yeah.
they just opened Tiger Beachside and then they just opened Tiger Chiang Mai within the last like year and a half.
Oh
So
wow,
Yeah.
I didn't even know
They
about
got the,
that.
yeah.
and I trained at Tiger before, and it just and I tell people all the time, I have people ask me, "Oh, where should I go?" And then for some reason, nobody really listens. They all end up in Phuket, and they book a 2 month or I mean a two week or a month training at Tiger, and then they're like, "Oh, I should have listened to you and gone like a couple places." I'm like, "Yeah, you get Tiger is great," and like I said, my buddy Khalil, he went over there for MMA training and he does all his Muay Thai training at Petndi in Bangkok. So
Okay.
he doesn't even really go to Tiger to train Muay Thai because he went over there for big guys because he's a 205er. He needed bigger guys to train with for his UFC fights. So that's why he went
Right.
there, and people didn't realize it. They really thought that initially that he was going to Tiger, and I mean, especially once he went on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan's like, "Oh, you went to Tiger Muay Thai in Phuket," and he's like, "Yeah, but I also was training at Petndi," and that's where he learned, his Muay Thai style. But I have a lot of people I've met that are like, "Oh man, I wish I tried another gym," and that happens. And I don't think that it's a bad thing for maybe your first trip because Phuket is beautiful, um,
Yeah.
with all the beaches and everything like that. But if you're going to be there a month, 2 weeks in Phuket is great, and then try some other stuff. And so, like, where you ended up, well, not ended up, where you're at now, in Pattaya, I was in Jomtien for a year and trained
Oh,
at Fairtex. There was another little gym that just closed, Phoenix Muay Thai, behind the gas station there.
okay. Yeah. I know a Phoenix Muay Thai. Yep.
Yeah, I trained there a couple times. I've trained at Sityodtong over there because I've met Mark Delagrati up here. He's in Massachusetts.
Right.
But I mean, I've trained all over, in Thailand, like I said. Um, and Fairtex is real cool. I saw that you just at Fairtex training with DJ?
Yeah, just doing some grappling and stuff with DJ. He has a morning class over there. No one shows up. Him and I is
Yeah.
cool. I planning on doing some MMA. So since he's on schedule to teach, I can't get him to come over to Evo. You know what I mean? So I just go over there
Yeah.
and I'll roll with. Yeah.
Oh,
So
is he
Evo is
permanently over there?
I'm sorry, the phone broke up. What'd you say?
Oh, sorry, we were talking at the same time. Is DJ permanently over there at Fairtex teaching jiu-jitsu?
I think indefinitely for sure. Yeah, he's gonna be here as long as he can. I guess stay. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good for you if you want to do MMA. That's a great grappling coach to have nearby.
Yeah. We just kind of trade off. I help him with stand up. He helps me with the ground stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I had met Jason while I was over there. The white black belt that's over there. The
Oh,
American Sparky.
yeah. I haven't met. No, I haven't seen him.
Yeah, he helps Stamp and all those guys.
Oh,
Because I knew DJ was supposed like because they had announced that he was there and then he had left for something and then now he's back.
mm, okay. I'm not sure, man. I know he was in Phuket for a little while, right?
DJ,
Yeah, wasn't he in Phuket for a little while?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny because you think that all the martial arts that's going on there. It's actually a pretty small community. Once, especially if you get outside of Muay Thai. Like if you go into any of the sort of MMA or grappling or anything like that in Thailand, it's a very small community.
Oh yeah. I agree with that. Yep. It's very
So
small.
at your gym, so you started, is it your gym? Did you start a gym over there or you just partnered up with somebody?
Well, yeah, I'm part owner. I'm part owner with another American guy out of Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah. We just. I mean, it's more than a gym. It's gonna be a brand. We'll have a few gyms. The next location should be opening up in Tampa. Um,
Oh, wow.
we were gonna open them up at the same time, pretty much. But this gym just. I mean, just. I guess with the language barrier, even though I speak some Thai, with the language barrier and just misunderstanding what we wanted. The gym took a lot of time that we planned on. It took a lot more time than we planned on. It getting open. You know what I mean? Like the infrastructure and all the renovations and things like that. We have been working at it since June, man, and it's just now really getting finished up to where it's looking good. We can do a walkthrough of all the accommodation and the office and the bathrooms and rooms and everything. Like everything's looking really nice now. So.
Do you have
Yeah.
like on-site rooms?
Yeah, we have on-site rooms. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
nice. Nice. So it's a full featured camp right in Pattaya.
yeah, yeah. I'll put up some videos and pictures this week for sure.
And so, what, like,
Nice.
how did that start out? Like, it was time to get your own spot?
Um, well, he came to me. He made me an offer. And I just jumped on it. We spoke about it back in 2016. Actually, I was living in Florida. I actually partnered up with somebody else at a different gym down in Florida, and that deal just kind of evaporated. I guess I'll say, and walked away from that. Went to Houston. While I was in Florida, I had spoke with Steve, and he came back to me actually in May of this year. He was like, "Hey man, I'm ready. If you're ready, let's do it." And I dropped everything and jumped on board. Became partner.
And you said you're setting this up different. How is your gym in Thailand going to be different than the Thai camps that exist now?
Um, by not just like winging certain things, or not just following the trends of what the Thais have already done. Not saying that what they've done is wrong as far as nutrition and things like that, but I feel that the scientific approach that has been taken for world class athletes should be taken more seriously for those that want. their fighters to become world class fighters or athletes. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
therefore, we're gonna apply that to what we're doing, as well as have the top notch or A level strength and conditioning and things like that. You know.
Oh, definitely. And you're gonna
Yeah,
have all
because
this on
it
site?
seems like
Oh yeah, yeah. I've done a video of the gym. I gotta do some updates, but this week I'll make sure to do that, and y'all can see everything, like the weights, the kettlebells, everything. I mean, we have everything there, so we can do it for sure. We will.
What were you gonna say, Kurt?
oh, I was gonna say it seems like all the gyms in Thailand pretty much have the same protocol. You have a set amount of time that you run, jump rope, everything. I mean, they're just sticking to like push-ups, sit-ups. Like they don't even seem like they work too many squats or anything for the lower body outside of, just your general technique.
Right, I agree with that. I feel like core focus, like focusing on the core strength, is very important, and that's something that we'll definitely implement in our program. Because I mean, the core affects everything that we do, especially as fighters. You know what I'm saying? And I feel with the Thai program, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with the Thai program, but I feel like it can be better from a scientific approach, and that's what we plan to do.
Yeah, I mean, you see some of the gyms adapting. Like I mentioned, Pet and D. Have you seen that gym before over in Bangkok?
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and so
I haven't been there though. I haven't like experienced the training, so I don't know what they do there. But I mean, I see the fighters are doing really good.
yeah, and that's one of the things is they actually like they train different. They trained a little more advanced now. So they have
Oh,
like all of their trainers have the heart monitors on, or all of their fighters, and so the trainers can see
yeah, I
exactly how
saw
hard they're pushing them. And so
right.
it's a lot more scientific, and that's one of the gyms that has kind of moved. I mean, that gym is historic as far as they had Sagat and things like that back in the day, but they've
Right.
progressed, which is totally something that most of the Thai gyms don't, because they're like, oh well, this is how we've made Lumpini champions forever. Run your 10K out on the street, come in, we're gonna train, and it's the same thing every day, which isn't wrong. I mean, that's how they've built legends, but with the
Right.
technology, nutrition, um, lots of things like that. Even I was at Samart's gym in Bangkok, and I had gotten a leg cramp, and they had like a sports physician or whatever it was on staff. Like, and he
Oh
came
wow.
over. Yeah, he was like massaging my like it was almost my ankle, and I felt like my calf, and he's like, no, and it was a Thai gentleman that I think he said he went to school for medicine in New York, and he's like, no, this is
Okay.
where that strain comes from, and it was like, oh, well, this is really refreshing that even legends that are like golden era fighters are even adapting to being able to prolong their fighters to keep them healthier and things like that. That wasn't really a focus back in the day, but
Right.
there's very few gyms, like what you're doing. There's very, very few gyms of that caliber in Thailand. Only maybe three or four that are even on the same idea level as what you're talking about out of the
Okay.
hundreds of gyms that are there. So let's go back to where did you start? Like obviously you have a very unique style. Um, were you a martial artist right from like most of us were from ninja movies or something like that? Like, how did you start in martial arts?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much the same, man. Yeah, ninja movies, kung fu movies, the old Wing Chun flicks back in the day. Um, yeah, man, watching those movies with my mom, training Kempo karate with one of my mom's friends when I was about 4 or 5 years old. A little later on, when I was about 10, I think for my 10th birthday, I think my mom signed me up for Taekwondo. I was already hooked. So I mean, I was training every day. I was coming to class when I wasn't supposed to be there. You know what I'm saying? And my Sabanim or my master instructor told me, "Hey man, like you're not advanced enough to be in these classes." So I sit and watch. I wouldn't like ask to call my mom to come pick me up. I just sit and watch class. to the point where he just let me start training with those guys. Did that for about 3 years straight. Got my black belt and did like some boxing and stuff like that with my uncles. And when I got older, I tried different martial arts like Jeet Kune Do and Savate. Then eventually some kickboxing and Muay Thai.
And then, who sent you to Thailand?
I was training at Team Toro, in Chicago actually, and Ricardo Perez was my trainer at the time. And he's the one that recommended me going to or coming to Thailand.
And then the rest of it's a great story for people that don't get out of their house and they work 9 to 5, stuff like that. We try and do in the life that you're living. It's almost like movie-esque, is seeing new lands and trying new things. So the next stage that I want to get into is like your Lethwei, but I want to try something I haven't really done with anybody. It's the first thing that pops in your mind when I tell you these names.
Kevin Ross, Soul Assassin, tough guy, really tough guy.
And Liam Harrison.
Liam Harrison. Another tough guy, but how do I say it? I've been watching Liam for a long time and seeing him in ONE FC right now, and him still being at that level is inspiring for sure.
John Wayne Parr. First thing that comes to your mind.
Fucking flake. He called me a flake. He's a fucking. And hopefully he hears, because, and I don't mean no disrespect by it, just like in a competitive way. Accept the fight, man. We can make it happen. I'll have a multiple entry visa to Australia. Since they say you don't need a visa to get in Australia, yes you do. You need an ETA, a electronic transit authority, or whatever you call it. I paid for it. It's multiple entry for a whole year. So he has a whole year to decide when he wants to fight me, when he wants to bring me out. We can do cage Muay Thai, whatever the name of his show is.
That would be nice.
That'd be awesome.
You got to get it in. I mean, he's a legend. You got to get in with him before he's done, right?
Right, man. I mean, yeah.
All right, and then here's the last one: is Dave Leduc.
Wow. All right. Liar. First thing comes to mind, liar. Liar and counterfeit for sure. He's using social media to fool people. It's like if you have a lot of followers, people believe you. You know what I'm saying? And it's just not right. I don't know. They try to downplay the titles or the type of titles that I beat Myanmar's best for. Like, I beat Myanmar's best. You know what I'm saying? At that time, during those eras, and two different eras. David Leduc was probably asking for the keys to his mom's truck when I was knocking out Saw Ngai and Myanmar back in 2010. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
David Leduc wasn't even around 2015. I don't remember hearing anything about David Leduc. And you know what I'm saying, or whatever his name is, David Leduc, back in 2015, 2014, when I knocked out Toto May or Tun Tin Min. They try to say that they were challenge titles or something like that, or challenge fights. I'm not sure what they said, but I was the first Westerner to do that, and it's not really a big deal to me. What is the big deal is him not just stepping up and accepting my challenge. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to act like he's so busy doing this and that. It's like, come on, man, fuck all the superstar shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you really want that title, that name, to be in the best ever or whatever with Lethwei, then knock me the fuck out. Beat my ass, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We fought one. All right, I moved around a lot. If you watch the fight, I didn't throw one right kick the whole time. I'm a right-handed fighter. I had a fracture in my ankle. they basically forced me to fucking fight. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm not even gonna go into it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is right now. If he wants to fight, hey man, let's make it happen. I'm ready anytime. Anytime. Just let me know.
That's more than one word, but all right.
Yeah, that was pretty good though.
All right, so let's get into that. Like not that part. Let's get into like so I have kind of a timeline that I've outlined, but I mean, so when did you go over to Myanmar? What triggered that? Because obviously with who you were just talking about, he's kind of sparked, people to understand like or to at least acknowledge Lethwei, which when I first started going over to Thailand, Kurt had already been over there for like a year before, and he was like, "Man, have you heard about Lethwei?" And I'm like, "Well, what the hell is that?" And that sparked my interest in it. But like Kurt, where did you hear about Lethwei first?
I actually heard about it. One of those guys that does the parasailing on what's that beach there in Phuket? The main one, Patong. So it was one of the parasailing guys there, and he was telling me about it. And actually, one of the first guys that I knew of was Cyrus because I remember I think Vice did a story on Lethwei, and I'm pretty sure he was the featured fighter in it.
So we didn't know about Dave back in the day, and so Cyrus, what triggered you to go over there?
Well, at the time I was at Tiger Muay Thai. We were about at the end of our rope as far as me fighting for the gym. I won't get into all of that, but I got an offer from a buddy of mine actually who was going over to do a fight at the same time. I didn't really know what Lethwei was, but he just told me, "Hey man, it's like Muay Thai with no gloves." I was like, "All right, man, I'll do it. Like I'll give it a go." So we went over and we had a press conference and all of that. During the press conference, they said because it was my first time fighting and they didn't think that the fight would last 5 rounds, they wanted to take headbutts out. Even though my opponent still threw headbutts. Just to give you an idea of like when they saw me, they were just like, "Hey, this guy's not like he's not gonna live." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They kept asking me, "Was I afraid?" and things like that. And I just kind of shrugged it off. You know what I mean? To me, it was just another fight. I left it like that. But I mean, to make a long story short, yeah, that's how I got into it.
When was your first fight in Myanmar or Burma or whatever it was back then?
They said, when was it?
Yeah, when was your first fight there?
My first fight there was 2010.
Okay.
Oh wow.
It was 2010.
And you had already been fighting Muay Thai, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So your first trip over, you get a fight right out of Tiger, which seems to be, what people are saying. It's just a different opportunity, other than like Bangala Stadium or something like that. And then, are you hooked into Lethwei, or is it just kind of something that's thrown in with your other fighting?
I enjoy Lethwei just because I don't have to like my last fight with the rules and like I mean not understanding the rules or not comprehending them completely. With Lethwei, I mean you don't gotta really worry about that. You know what I'm saying? Basically,
Mhm.
there are no rules other than fighting on the ground, which you can't do in Lethwei. I mean you can do everything else pretty much. You know what I'm saying? And I like that. But yeah, I mean for the most part, just thrown in with Muay Thai for me.
So it was just kind of like you were still fighting Muay Thai at the same time. You didn't like just dedicate to Lethwei.
Right, right. No, I mean
Okay.
Muay Thai is the reason I'm out here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't dedicate myself to Lethwei. No.
It was just another opportunity.
Right. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I took Muay Thai to Myanmar, like to fight Lethwei. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean when I went there, I trained with them a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But when I step in the ring to fight Lethwei, I'm stepping in as a Muay Thai fighter for the most part, you know what I'm saying?
Cyrus, how
so
would you say that Muay Thai compares to Lethwei as far as technically wise? I would say.
I mean they're the same but still different. With Lethwei is more aggression and power, which there are some Muay Thai fighters that fight that way. But to me, the best Muay Thai fighters are the more technical Muay Thai fighters, the more technical Muay Thai fighters. Um, and those two styles to me are what differentiate the two between Lethwei and Muay Thai. For sure, Lethwei is just more power and aggression for the most part. I think the phone
do you
broke
have
up
a
a little bit.
preference? You're a Muay Thai fighter, right? Is that basically? I mean, you're a Muay Thai fighter that's willing to fight in other types of fighting.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I say I'm a Muay Thai fighter, but I mean, I'm more than just a Muay Thai fighter. You know what I mean? I've trained a lot of different martial arts. Um, I'm always looking for new techniques, watching video to pick up new things from not just Muay Thai fighters, but anybody. I learn from my students. You know what I mean? I pick up things from my students or fighters that aren't at my level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean,
How well does your Taekwondo background blend in with your Muay Thai? Like, because I know you like specifically you like that spinning back kick. Is there like certain Taekwondo techniques that you still use and prefer?
Um, yeah, I think more so toward the middle of my career. I got about 12 or 13 turning back kick knockouts and maybe 5 or 6 spinning heel kick knockouts.
Oh, nice.
Like yeah, I like those. I like those techniques. They get highlighted in videos when guys make highlight videos, but I don't have like even though I have about 50 knockouts, they're not all from like spinning techniques. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people assume that or think that, but they're not from like all spinning techniques. You know?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but I
They
mean
just get showcased a lot.
yeah. The Taekwondo techniques do complement Muay Thai very well. Um, but I don't like when I fight. I'm not just like out there spinning around, throwing. You know what I mean? I gotta
Yeah.
set them up. Yeah.
yeah, you definitely have a unique Muay Thai style. It's kind of like a very powerful Taekwondo sprinkled in with that Muay Thai. And that's what the yeah, like you were saying, the highlights are, a lot of the spinning techniques. It's just because you don't see that in Muay Thai too much.
Right. I
There's a
agree with
very
that.
traditional like set of, especially if you see a Muay Thai fighter in Thailand, it's kind of, the marching and the same type of strikes and things like that. And then you see somebody that's gonna, start spinning and knock people out, and definitely that gets a lot of attention.
Mhm.
So your timeline starts at 2010 in Myanmar. Uh, like we were talking, so I kind of want to get into this because it's a hot topic. Like you were talking, you don't really care for the perception of Dave Leduc right now. And we had Dave on, and I'm gonna be 100% honest. Is I didn't care for his social media perception either. I had actually talked to Dave years ago when I was in Thailand and I wanted to learn more about Lethwei. And
Mhm.
he was out of Tiger at that point, and I wanted to just train with him for a little bit, and he had something else going on, but either way, um, and then over the following time, following him on social media, I stopped following him. I thought the remarks that he was saying, the things that he was coming up with was ridiculous. It wasn't martial arts. It wasn't respectful. It wasn't what I would definitely not something I would ever experience in Thailand. So when we started this podcast, I had really wanted to see what the hell that was, and we had him on. Now, he was very nice on the podcast, very respectful. He didn't get too crazy about anything. He said some things that were very smart, and uh, he even said, he's an entertainer first, and then a fighter,
Oh
and
wow.
that it's sports entertainment.
Okay.
So he acknowledges this, and that's the thing is like he's not putting that out there on Joe Rogan. He's not putting that out there on all these other platforms that he's getting all this press on. He's becoming like a bad guy, like a Chael Sonnen in the UFC. And I get it. That's how he's going to. I mean, everyone's talking about him. He's calling out people that he'll never fight. He's calling, he's just kind of like the madman in martial arts. I mean, he showed up at that UFC event and the Diaz event, and he's like, "I'm the baddest motherfucker here," and you're like, "No,
Are you serious?
we know that we know that's not the truth. If you were put in a cage with these guys, we know how it's going to go down."
Right. Right.
And
Right.
I think that he's a skilled fighter. I think that he's really playing a role, and he's pushing buttons to get reactions from people and to get social media working. Like you said, social media is. I hate social media, but obviously it's part of our lives now. But
Yeah.
he's playing the role just like 99% of these rappers that are coming out that are driving Lamborghinis and have all these diamonds, but that's not theirs.
Right.
But Kurt and I have actually, because we had the conversation, I think it was last week. There's something up with his social media presence, in the aspect of there's a website, was it Lethwei World, that jumps to his defense
Oh yeah, I
anytime.
think I paying them or something, man.
Yeah, we don't know that he's very involved in that, or I mean, he's got a marketing guy that works with him that schedules everything with him. I mean, he's doing it the right way to make money to look like the bad guy. Uh, I think that he is going to get more fans to listen to like the idea and to get the Litway out there. But like I called him out when we had him on the podcast. I said, "What the hell was you calling out Buakaw for being in Myanmar?" I'm like, I don't know where did that come from, because you're
Right.
Canadian white guy and you're you're telling another Buddhist that he can't go to a temple in another country. And he said, he's like, "Oh well, I feel like that's my country and blah blah blah." I'm like, okay, I get it. They like you, but is going back to the timeline of this. You're there in 2010, fighting, not just visiting. And from what I could find, I'd have to look at it. He wasn't in in 2013. He was 21 and went to Thailand for the first time. So not as a fighter, and he had visited Thailand for the first time.
Okay.
2016, he went back and joined Tiger, and that's when he got his he won the tryouts or whatever. So 6 years after you've already fought in Myanmar, and I don't kind of understand why you're not getting the credit for being, the first Westerner to be over there. Did you win? Because I've seen the controversy of, did you win the belts or it was a challenge for the belt? But you beat a champion, right?
Right. I beat that. Yeah, I beat their best, man. The best of the best two fighters in two different eras.
And finished them.
I don't even. What was that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
And you finished them.
Right. Right. Okay. The first fight, I knocked him out. He did get back up. I knocked him out. His eye was closed shut. For the remainder of the fight, he ran away, and I became champion when he stuck his head through the rope so I couldn't hit him. they felt that they lost face, and they're, you know what I mean. They let the fight continue, but at the end of the fight, I got the belt.
And did they physically hand you a belt?
Oh yeah, I have a picture of it. It's up on my Instagram.
Okay.
Belt. Oh yeah, yeah.
So for all this shit talk that's going on online, and what year was that you won that belt?
That was 2010.
So 2010, you were awarded a belt in Myanmar from whatever the governing body was. So in 2010, there's proof that you were there. You obviously you fought, you won a belt, and
Oh yeah.
so there should be no discrepancy. So I don't understand, and that goes back to I don't know who's running this website that keeps disputing these things.
Yeah, man. It could be his website. I feel like it is his website, or he's paying somebody some good money.
We feel like it's also his website.
He won the belt, but I don't remember him putting anybody to sleep. He didn't knock anybody out to win the belt, I don't think. I think the guy just couldn't continue or something like that. It was something like that. I don't know. But yeah, man, it's some fishy stuff going on for sure.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to I've trained with like Vanderlei Silva became a good friend of mine. Being in Las Vegas, Kurt and I got to train with so many high level athletes. Like Chris Cyborg, when she was just fighting Muay Thai, used to still come into the gym. We got to train with so many people, and the thing with martial arts is the respect. You know, even if you didn't personally care for the person you're fighting, there was a respect. And Dave's kind of throwing that all out the window, following the UFC platform. And I said to him, I said, you kind of seem like you're coming off like a Conor McGregor, you know, like you're trying to pull that stuff off. And he's like, I don't like to be compared to that guy because, you know, so I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said he didn't like to be compared to him. But I saw the similarities, as that seems to be where he's kind of going, where, you know, your journey seems to be obviously the legit journey. I don't know if there was guys before you. I mean, there always could have been somebody that before social media or something weird like that. But so as far as we know, as far as you know, you're the first Westerner to win the belt over there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know I am. There was no one going over there. There might have been like there was for sure like guys from other parts of Asia, like Japan and things like that. They were going over there. I'm not sure if they titles or anything like that, but as far as a Westerner yes, I'm the first for sure.
Yeah, then, because when did the borders to Myanmar even open up? And like, it wasn't that long ago.
Right. I'm not sure when, but yeah, people haven't been even going over there for that long.
So to get away from his negative stuff, you have one message for him?
No, man. Like I posted a message to him. I tagged him in it. If he wants to be a superstar and act like he's too busy to accept the challenge, man, that's on him. I'm not gonna stress about that guy. But to anybody that wants proof to me beating Myanmar's best, the videos are on YouTube. Look for them on my YouTube channel from 2010 and from 2014. It was the end of 2014, 2015. Yeah, you're right.
So in general, not even to Dave, in general, you're a fighter. If you want to bring up your name, they should fight you.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. I respect that 100%.
Yeah, I think I think just the biggest difference is, Cyrus, he's not a marketeer, you just like, cuz I'm the same way. I don't like to talk a whole lot. I don't like to put out a whole lot on social media, and I think Dave's kind of the opposite. He's a marketeer, so he's able to, anything that he does, he's able to put a lot of light on it, where some of these other guys that are pioneers just don't have the platform, and they're not like, they're just not trying to put it out there like that. It's not part of their personality.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, man. I don't know, like, like you guys were saying, so like I don't really like social media, you know what I mean? But for business nowadays, you have to have it.
Yeah.
And when social media was growing, when it was getting bigger, I was kind of shunning it. You know what I mean? I didn't like it. I was shutting down my accounts. You know what I mean? And things like that, just because people get so wrapped up in it, man, to the point where they can be anybody they want to be. But when you meet that person in real life, they're nothing like the person they're portraying on social media. You know. But I'm doing my best. I'm gonna say I'm doing my best, but I'm doing a lot better with just posting and keeping people updated on what's going on with me. You know. So,
Yeah. And that sucks because we have to put out this perception, and that's the thing is like you said, you could be anybody you want in social media. I mean, literally, you can. And Kurt and I were joking about that the other day. Was we were like, we should just start a Wikipedia page that says that this podcast is the number one podcast in the world. I mean, and somebody's gonna pick it up. But it's like that's all it takes is and then if you have somebody that knows, like you said, knows the SEO and things like that, that's all this stuff is. It's bad, because
uh,
you don't really have to build a reputation. You can fake it until you make it.
Yeah, like your reputation could be built by you. It doesn't even
Yeah,
have to be built by anybody else. Like you just make yourself look super big and legitimate, and 90% of people will never know the difference.
yeah. And what
I
sucks
agree
is
with.
somebody like you, Cyrus, that has like a huge like legacy record, and you're a humble guy, you're a true martial artist, and it's like you don't have to throw it out there. It doesn't have to. You're not the one that's going to put it in people's faces, and it happens a lot with great fighters. Unless you get put on a big stage where the company decides that they're going to benefit from putting your record and your legacy out there. That a lot of great fighters will go unnoticed. I mean, how many amazing fighters are in Thailand that ask any Westerner who they know in Muay Thai? They're going to know Huakao and Sanchai, if that.
Right. That's right. Right.
And you can go to Lumpini or Raja any day and see amazing high-level athletes that you'll
That's
never know their
right.
names. Um,
That's right. Guys at a much higher level. Not I won't say a much higher level, but guys that will give Sanchai and Bullock a lot of trouble. You know what I'm saying?
oh
I
yeah,
say
yeah,
that much
yeah.
all the
Well, both
time.
of those guys, which we, and this is something else that we talk about on the podcast a lot with a lot of the fighters, is my respect for Thailand is so great, and one of the things that I love is you have a fight, uh, not a record necessarily, but how many fights have you had? So they don't really care if you've lost. Everyone's going to lose. If you have 300 fights, you've lost. But that's not their
Oh yeah.
concern. So Buakau's lost, Sanchai's lost. Everybody loses, and that's not a big deal. And they're still like national heroes and all that. But if you get into a
Hmm.
cab, that cab driver is going to tell you like some other obscure name that you're like, no, this is, he'll be like, this is the greatest fighter ever. And you're like, oh, that's cool. Like you hear different names. And those are the guys that aren't, these are the people that are fighting for their families still. They're fighting for the right thing. They're fighting under a gym name. I mean, what kind of athletes? You think about it. If the UFC fighters fought with the same uh, level of intensity as far as taking, the last name of the gym, and so so you have every UFC fighter no longer has their own identity. They have a first name and then it says UFC. Nobody would be okay with that. But in
No.
Thailand, it's so common because they're so happy to represent the gym that they're coming from and things like that. There's so much more personal stuff that feels like they're okay with. They're not the ones. You normally don't see the fighters putting out social media so much about themselves at fights. You see the promoter doing it.
Right. Right.
Where in some people's sense now that that's what it is like you have to put out all this stuff to keep people interested, and it sucks. And I mean, I don't know the extent of it, but that Instagram is actually removing the likes on your photos and stuff now.
I
I
think
haven't.
that's good.
That would be
Facebook needs to do.
amazing.
Yeah.
Just put it out there to put it out there. Don't put it out there to see how many or by how many likes you can get. And then, you're
Yeah.
kind of going to get away from that fake being, because you're an Instagram model. Great. You're an Instagram star, but it's not real. The money
Right.
that you're getting from it's real because you're bullshitting everybody. You know
Right.
what? In what planet is an 11-year-old supposed to have $30 million? No 11-year-old has any talent whatsoever in the world that should make him $30 million. It just doesn't make sense.
They're on Instagram making that much money?
So, yeah, I don't remember what the kid was. This is like 11 years old, $30 million bucks.
Wow.
But I mean, you see, like, I don't know how much you've seen, but there was like a little kid, maybe a couple years ago, that was making video. Her mom was making videos, and they were like, it was a crazy story. It was like her mom was a realtor, so she would take her little daughter to these mansions and film videos, and then they'd be like throwing money around, and she was like kicking Rolls Royces and all sorts of wild stuff, and she became viral and became a star from this. And it's like,
Really? Wow.
yeah, like
That's
and
so
make
fucking
millions of dollars.
I'm happy that they got the money, but like for that, man, that's fucking stupid.
Exactly. It's like, here's the thing: is before social media, we had what, Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that every crazy family that was on Jerry Springer all of a sudden was like a billionaire?
And
But
wow.
that's what it's turned into. We've turned in. If you can entertain me with wild shit enough, I'll give you money, which is insane. It's
Yep.
it's like, you don't have to be a good businessman. You don't have to be a great athlete. You can be just some wild kid off the street. Which, hey, if you can get your hustle, I'm not against that. But
Right.
the people that are really working hard and trying to do things the right way is kind of changing, and that sucks. Hard work isn't always paying off anymore, and it's ridiculous.
That's right.
But it's the way that we've let it go, and we just keep letting it go, which has nothing to do with fighting at this point. But
That happens on here.
yeah, kind of get off on a little tangent, but that's the way that life is going. And so,
Unfortunately, yeah. Right, man.
did I read that you were shot?
Yeah, man. I was shot. About a year and a half ago. Yeah, I was shot. I was doing um, some security at a nightclub. I had a couple fights set up, and I won't say the guy's name, but he backed out of. Two of the guys backed out of them. And I got shot on July 21st, 2018. I was supposed to fight July 22nd, 2018, and this guy backed out of the fight, so I wouldn't even have been working that night. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I backed out of the fight, and that night there was a group of people that came in. Somehow they snuck the guns in. I'm not sure how, but I'm assuming it had to be one of their girlfriends or something like that, because girls don't get pat searched, And I guess there wasn't a female at the door that night. I work inside the club, so I'm just a bouncer. I'm not an armed guard or anything like that. Long story short, he got into it, or some guy got into it with another guy. They had already gotten into it that night. I went over to break them up again. He pulls out a gun. He starts shooting. He hits me in my like pelvic area, not too far from my manhood, and hit me in the stomach. The one that went through my stomach came out my leg, damaging my femoral artery and
Oh shit.
my femoral nerve. Yeah, so after everything happened, my leg was dead for a while. Um, had to get a artery bypass in my thigh for my femoral artery. So I mean, my life's pretty much changed forever. Not just because of the incident, but because of the graft I got in my leg. And I already have a condition where my blood's thick. So I have to make sure I stay properly hydrated and things like that, so that don't clot up and I die.
Damn.
That's
But
crazy.
yeah, other than that, man, yeah, that's what happened. Other than that, I'm good. My leg's about 100%. I'm not complaining too much. Just the nerve pain, though, man. It's like that hasn't gone away yet. But other than that, I'm pretty good.
Wow. I mean, how long were you not able to train? Because I mean, that's only a
It
little
was
more
a
than a
long
year
time.
ago.
And actually, I didn't start really training. I mean, I would force myself to do certain things like work out and stuff like that. But actually, Muay Thai training, shit, man. At least I want to say about 6 months before I was able to start like shadow boxing and things like that. Like, man, just walking around. Like, I mean, a few months after it happened, like I would walk outside or something like that, and I walk off a curb. And I stepped down, my leg would give out. You know what I mean? And my leg, when it gave out, like it was no catching myself. You know, I fell on a couple cars a couple times, and
Oh
I just
shit.
kind of laughed about it just because I didn't expect it. You know, um, it was definitely life changing. Got my attention, and I made some changes. I felt like God wanted to get my attention, and that's why it happened. So I definitely made some changes spiritually. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I'm doing my best to be a better person from it. You know.
I mean, what changes you say you made changes? Like, what changes like really hit home? I mean, that's a life altering experience. I mean, literally, you you could have been dead. Um,
Yeah.
so what did that trigger in you? Like, where did you go from there?
Patience, man. Being more patient with people, with myself. Um, that was the main thing, man. Patience. Not, you know what I mean, not losing my cool about things so easily, you know. And not that I was triggered easily, you know what I mean. It would take some pushing, but and I'm still getting better at it. You know what I'm saying? Learning to accept things as well. You know, the things that are out of my control. I used to have an issue with that, thinking that I could make someone see the truth when we don't have control over that. You know what I mean? All people usually see is their perspective for the most part, and if their perspective happens to be the truth, great. But usually it's not, and we have no control over making them see what the truth is. You know, things like that, man. Acceptance, patience, and I felt like it was just telling me, hey, man, if you wanna have a good life or the life you envision, then you're gonna have to work for it. It's not gonna come to you easily like it comes to a lot of people nowadays. You're gonna have to work for it, and I'm busting my ass for it. You know, I'm working to
Yeah.
get back and you know what I mean, get back and get better than I was before as far as fighting and as a man. You know, yeah, yeah, that's it, man.
And did that refocus you on fighting?
Um, yeah, for sure. And I'll tell you a little bit more about me. Like I spent 4 years in prison. Um, and fighting was a thing that kind of kept me focused on my freedom because I was a hard headed young guy, man. So I would watch K1 like K1 Grand Prix back in the day, like 2002, 2003, with like Remy Bonjeski and Stefan Leko and all those guys. I'd be in prison watching that, and that got me focused on my freedom and wanting to pursue kickboxing and Muay Thai when I got free. And I felt like I must have gotten unfocused, and I did get unfocused on that, and just on becoming a better person when I had promised God back then when I was in prison that I would remain focused no matter what and become a better person and pursue this goal and use my platform to announce the Lord's greatness, you know? So I felt like he got my attention and I wasn't on that path anymore. And yeah, he got my attention and it definitely got me refocused on my purpose for sure.
Gotcha. I'm. I didn't know you were in prison actually. um,
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. I don't think. Yeah.
I mean, is that something you mind talking about?
I don't mind talking about it. I mean, no, people don't know. I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff people don't know about me because I guess I'm pretty quiet and
Again, you
pretty
don't have
private.
you don't have the social media story going out every day of this happened and this happened, which I don't mind. I mean, that's we got to be private somehow, you know. It's unfortunately these days everything has to be put out. What you ate for dinner, where you went, like all that bullshit.
Man,
So,
I know, right? Like I'm hungry to take a picture of my food all the time, man. I just want to eat. You know what I mean?
right?
Yeah.
It may not look the best, but I want to eat it. So just leave me alone. But I mean,
Right.
so if you don't mind, I mean, where were you in life that caused you to go down that path that landed you in jail?
Man, and not to make excuses, but it was just pretty much just a product of my environment, and my environment was escalated or pushed to what it had become to me because of the way that gangsters and dope dealers and all of those bad guys were kind of like glamorized. You know what I mean? Media bigs them up. You know what I'm saying? From even rappers do. You know what I mean? And a lot of that influenced my lifestyle at that time. I was only 19, man, when I went in. I got out right before my 25th birthday. Um, thank God I got home. Um, but yeah, man, it was just glamorized. The drugs, the guns, all of that. Me growing up in Saginaw, Michigan, which was once the murder capital of the world. I mean, it was easy to get sucked into that dark lifestyle, and
Yeah.
being in that environment, you don't, and being a young person, you don't really see the wrong in it because it's all around you. Even
Hmm.
though you know right from wrong, but because it's around you that way, you don't really know. Like you don't know about Thailand and there's another world out there. You know what I'm saying? All you know is what you're around and what you see. Um, yeah, man, and I got sucked into it. And that's why I just want to fight. And man, if I can get if when I do get a big enough contract and I can use my platform, whatever fame I get to bring more attention to those places like that, man, and hopefully change the path that some of the youth are on, man, and just give them a second chance before they lose the chance that they have now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but yeah, man, yeah, yep, that
Yeah,
was it, man.
I grew up in upstate New York in Rochester, and people are like, "Oh,
Okay.
upstate New York, whatever." And it was funny because Rochester at one point when I was growing up was our city had more murders than New York City. And like
Oh
you
damn.
said, yeah, like everybody's like, "Oh, you never heard of Rochester?" Well, yeah, you haven't, but that's where Kodak and Xerox and all that stuff actually where their headquarters were. So we had an industrial city, and my
Okay.
friends, were I had a lot of friends that were on the wrong path, and for a period of time, that's all I saw. My friends had nice cars, my friends were driving BMWs, my friends were doing this and that, and I seen it, and I put myself in bad situations, and it took something. I luckily, for whatever reason, didn't go in jail. I had a couple friends that were going to prison.
Damn.
That it did wake me up, and I was like, and it woke me up good enough where I was like, I got to get away from here. I had two friends that were going to prison, and they were going for a while, and I was like, that could be me. I'm out, and I
Yeah.
moved to Florida. I literally moved from New York to Florida within like 2 months of all of that happening. I was lucky enough to be able to recognize that there was something more for me, and I just needed to be as far away from like the negative as I could, start 100% new, and see what I could do with my life. And I've done all sorts of stuff. Like I've lived in Las Vegas for a long time. I started training martial arts. I had my own business. Now I've traveled to Thailand, I've traveled to Laos, I traveled Vietnam, Cambodia. People are like, "Man, your life is great." I'm like, "No, I've made it that way though. I'm not rich." You know, like this podcast doesn't pay us $1 million. Like I still gotta hustle. I still gotta do my things. But I know what I value. I value life experiences. I value being able to talk to people like you. I value my friends, that I have close friends that are true. And it goes back to the social media where we think that how many likes is how many friends we have, and that has nothing to do with real life. And
Right.
and experiences like what you've had, it triggered something in you, and it's one of those things that people, hopefully, most people don't have to see and don't have to experience. But I think, unfortunately, with the social media era, that it's really going to be things that, I mean, things like people like, I mean, 6ix9ine and all that wild stuff that they got going on, and then you see people snitching on each other, and it's like, wow. But then they say it's okay because he's going to get out of jail and make more millions of dollars. It's like, all right, this is not the real world anymore. This is all what we make up and we present. I've said it a million times. Is like, on my Facebook, I don't put out anything negative. Nothing. I don't.
That's great.
I don't like to put out anything. I won't put you down. My mom told me if I don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I've lived that my whole life. Like, unless we're man to man and you got something to say to me and I have something to say to you, then that's okay. But I'm not going to put it out there for other people to judge. And, I just try to always live that way, and once you get into martial arts, it really makes you a different person too. So like, it's definitely interesting to hear that you had that story, and that's why we do this with this podcast. Is I don't want people just to know, Black Dynamite, he's a great fighter. He fought in Lethwei. I'd like people to see other parts of people. Like, we have some goofy questions that we'll ask you here in a minute too that have nothing to do with any of that, but it just kind of is funny things to just make us all human, to kind of to just be able to connect on a different level. Like, there's people that are never going to be able to talk to you, not because they don't want to or you don't want to, just that connection never happens. And for me to go, hey, Cyrus, what do you think about this? And it may be, whatever, just, your favorite movie, and somebody's like, oh, shit, that was my favorite movie too. And, it just to spark something in people's lives that's not, as fighter, as entertainers, as whatever, we see such a divide. That's another thing I love about Thailand is I've met the best of the best fighters in Thailand. I've trained with them. Like, I've been trained by Samart, by Sagat. I trained with Manichai and Singdam, and I was training with Lordzilla, and I mean, like, but you can't do that in the States without paying like $600, and then you feel like they don't even want to be there with you if you did it here. So it's different. Like, I was training with Manichai, and the whole Yakao team was there, and Sanchai was walking by every couple of minutes, and he was giving me pointers. I didn't pay Sanchai to give me pointers, but you're embracing that fight culture, and you're doing things with their people, and it's kind of just like, it's such an open, caring thing that they do for you, and it gives you a different point of view of the world. That's like you said, when you were in a dark place, you didn't know Thailand existed, and when I started Fight Chase, it's not because I want people to follow Fight Chase and to give me money or to buy something from me. I want to at least spark something in people to take a step to do something else, to just to whether it's to walk into your local gym or to walk over, or to book that flight to a country that you've never been. Kurt booked his flight and never been out of the country. I booked my flight to Thailand. I had only been to Canada. Like, we went to Thailand, and it created such an amazing thing. It's created my website. It got Kurt was, when Kurt and I trained at Vanderlei Silva's gym, we really mainly focused on jiu-jitsu. And then, we trained MMA and things like that. But at the time, we were really focused on jiu-jitsu before going over to Thailand. Then you go to Thailand and you find that it's not just a martial art. Like, it's a culture, Muay Thai. And you fall in love with that, and then you want to share that. And by sharing that, I just want people to understand that it's not scary to take that first step. But you got to take that first step, and it may open 1 million doors from you, and you'll see the world. You'll see people that care about people again. And that's what I loved about Thailand is giving a shit about your neighbor, about a friend that you or somebody you don't even know. It was amazing when I got there, and it's very sad when I come back, the things that I see, that you can't go to the store and say hello to a woman without her thinking that there's an ulterior motive. It's those things, so what's so I mean, it's really cool to see that you went through a bad thing. It sucks, but I feel like it makes us really value like what we get out of life. And then, unfortunately, you went through another bad situation, but like you said, it kind of was like like you said, you believe that it was like God going, "Hey, you're getting off track here. Get
Yeah,
back to it." All
yeah, man.
positive
Um,
stuff.
yeah, yep, yeah. Yeah, man. I think it's great what you're doing, man. I mean, for the reason you're doing it to inspire people to better themselves, better their lives.
Yeah,
Um,
we got to
that's
get out of our backyards.
yeah,
Got to get that gym packed over there if it's not already.
yeah, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, man. Send 'em over.
So Kurt's got normally a few questions he asks everybody that we both have a couple questions that we ask pretty much everybody to kind of um, get at a point of view. What do you got, Kurt?
So Cyrus, one of the things I like to ask all the fighters that come on, or one of the things is, how do you manage fear? Like before you're about to fight, what's some of the strategies that you use?
Um, that's a good question. I've always, I've always dealt with self doubt. You know what I mean? Not so much fear, just self doubt. Questioning myself if I had trained hard enough, which I mean, I trained balls to the wall hard. You know what I mean? But still, that question is there. Did I train hard enough? Will I will I make the right decisions in the ring? You know what I mean? And things like that. I don't deal with it as much as I used to, but I just have to. I guess the best advice I can give to anyone that's dealing with self doubt or fear, even, is to have more faith than fear, man. Like it's a fight. It's a good fight within. And you gotta make sure that you feed your faith more than you feed your fear. You just gotta, you know what I mean? And it can be an exhausting fight. You know what I mean? Before you're stepping into that ring, and it can take some of your actual physical energy. You just gotta believe in yourself no matter what, and go out there and do your honest best. Not lay down. Do your honest best for sure. I mean, that's the best advice I can give people. As far as like a formula or something to do leading up to the fight, man, just I mean, listen to motivational videos, motivational speeches, watch inspiring movies like Rocky, things like that. Just put good images, good thoughts, good things into your mind leading up to the fight. Stay off social media. You know what I'm saying? Don't. You know what I mean? It's just so you're not feeding into the opinions of others. And not to say that anyone is weak-minded enough to feed into the opinions of others, but they can have some effect. Um, but yeah, man, just read what can inspire them to be their best for sure. That's the best advice I can give off the top of my head for sure. And
It's
meditation, man, meditation and things like that. Meditating is something that I still practice and I always will. Just traditional meditation, sitting in a quiet room and demanding yourself to quiet your mind for as long as you're willing to do that. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the number one thing of how you get control of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Forcing yourself or demanding yourself to sit in a quiet room and be quiet completely, your entire being. You know what I mean? Inside and out. I think that's the number one advice I can give someone.
do you have any, like, as far as your meditation practice goes, do you have anything specific that you like to do? Like, do you focus on your breath or?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, breathing in the nose and out of the nose. The mouth is relaxed, but it's closed. And you're breathing in your nose and out of your nose. Your tongue is at the roof of your mouth, and just can quiet your mind. You know what I mean? It's gonna be. I mean, it's difficult. It's a fight. But quiet your mind. Don't think about what you did earlier, or what you got to do tomorrow, or later on, or think about anybody. Just focus on something positive. Maybe a fire growing, like, and that fire is in reference to your faith. You know what I mean? Or your belief, your energy, or something like that. I'm caught a little off guard with this question, but I mean that's probably what I would tell them because that's what I do. sure. And that's what
Cool,
works for
cool.
me.
And then, Cyrus, the other question that I have for you is, what loss or failure have you learned the most from? Just off the top of your head, something that comes to mind.
Can you say that again? The phone broke up a little bit.
So what loss or failure have you learned the most from?
What loss or failure off the top of my head? Uh, Man, I mean, there's not one for sure, cause I've allowed my I've allowed certain things to affect me in the ring that I shouldn't have allowed multiple times, and I wasn't my best. But I'd have to say, man, mm, I mean, wow. Um,
God, I'm good with this one.
yeah, all right. Um, Shit. I'd have to say back when I fought Nikki Holskin back in 2011, I wasn't prepared for that fight. I had just fought maybe 3 weeks before that, and I'm not gonna say I took the fight lightly. I just didn't take the fight as seriously as I should have, and I ended up getting cut in the second round. Even though I wanted to continue fighting, they stopped the fight. And I learned a lot from that, just to focus completely when you have a fight, especially against somebody that good. You know what I'm saying? But don't, and I didn't take him lightly. I just felt like, hey, I can hang in there with this guy. I can beat him. You know what I mean? And he ended up catching me with that knee to my fore, in between my eyes, actually, my forehead, and cut me. They stopped the fight. Um, and yeah, I learned a lot from that fight for sure.
A few more questions. Can
Okay.
you think of like any advice that you've received in the corner? Um, that like what I guess what's the best advice you could think of that you've received in the corner when you were in the ring?
The best advice.
Like, was there a time when like you didn't think you were gonna win, or just like that little comment that really changed things around, something of that nature?
Mm. Um, yeah, I had a fight. It was actually in Vegas, actually, man. Some years back, I fought Yi Long, the monk, and my coach Aziz Nabi was in my corner, and I was losing my cool, where I just wanted to go out and just get crazy. You know what I mean? Just fight, just brawl. And he was like, "Hey, man, don't get crazy right now. Like stay calm." Stay calm. You can beat this guy. And even though my corner and even the promoter of the event thought that I won the fight, they ended up awarding the judges gave him the win. My coach wasn't upset with me at all because I listened to him. I kept a cool head, but yeah, I remember him telling me that, and I listened, and I executed what I was supposed to execute for sure.
Who was your
That was
coach then?
probably the best. Aziz Nabi, he's
Is
up
it?
in New York, Satan Gym. Then he's over at Sitson Pinong in Bangkok with City Chai and Tonga Chai,
Okay.
and they got some other guys there. Yeah,
Hmm.
corners guys in glory pretty often.
I was gonna ask you about the Yulong fight. Like, that's a fight that like is looked at so much with Buakaw's fight with him.
Mm.
It's like like how crazy. How was it to fight him? I mean, what did it have that same kind of like he was just very unorthodox and you couldn't hurt him type of thing. I mean, how was it to? Because you did it way before Buakaw, so
Yeah.
you didn't have that as a reference. But I mean, did he dress this? He dressed the same then too, right? Like the monk. He's a monk, so
Yeah, pants. Yeah, I think he had pants. He had pants on that fight.
yeah,
He had some pants on that fight, and yeah, I mean, he's a tough guy, or he made himself seem to be tough. Very unorthodox for kickboxing or Muay Thai, from what I remember. I remember getting hit low. I remember getting hit low. I didn't really watch the videos because they seemed kind of chopped up. I don't know if they
yeah,
were replaying like certain points over and over or whatever because I think the timer was blurred out in the videos. But yeah, man, it was an interesting fight. Not to take anything away from that guy. He's fought people fair and square. You know what I mean? From what I've saw, and he's earned his popularity. You know?
yeah. He's a very unique fighter. It's definitely
Yeah,
like a video game character.
yeah.
Yeah. So kind of on the other side of that coin too, this doesn't have to be advice that somebody told you personally, but like in general, like what's the worst piece of advice that you've heard coming from a coach?
Hmm. Man, being in Thailand, man, and like I like at this point in my career, I like some excitement and straightforwardness from my corner,
Mm-hmm.
But like in the past, I can remember some of the trainers getting a little too excited, and they were just kind of saying anything. I think one, I can't remember what coach it was or what trainer it was, but punch power is probably some of the worst, some of the worst advice. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what kind of punch? How much power? Like, should I move after? Just throw a punch. Only one. Okay. All right. Well, okay. I'm not gonna listen to that. You know what I mean? But thank you. Like, I'm glad they cared enough to say something.
Yeah, yeah. And then last question I got for you is who is your favorite opponent? Who's somebody that you really enjoyed fighting?
Hmm. Somebody I really enjoy fighting. I'd have to say a fight that I enjoyed just because it was very much a war of attrition. Um, would have been a Lethwei extreme fight I did in Myanmar against Tutu. It was a 7 round fight actually.
Oh
The
damn.
first 5 rounds were normal 3 minute rounds, and the last 2 rounds were 5 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh
And
wow.
I finished the fight. He knocked me down. I think I got knocked down. Definitely one time was a knockdown, and the other time was a flash knockdown, and I knocked him down once that fight. It was a good entertaining fight for anybody that watched it. And I enjoyed that, just being able to finish that. You know what I'm saying, and doing another thing that no Westerner had done, fighting a Lethwei extreme fight and finishing on my own 2 feet.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and that was on the internet too, man. I've seen it. It's up there. It might be on my channel. I'm not sure.
Is your marketing team put it up there for you?
Okay. Yeah.
Just the good videos.
Man.
Only
Yeah.
highlights, just like Instagram. It's just our highlights of our life.
Yeah.
You got anything else, Kurt?
Nah, I'll hand it over
All
to you,
right.
Kelly.
All right, here we go, Cyrus. Cyrus, Black Dynamite, Washington. Here's some questions that we talk about with everybody. Now,
Okay.
feel free to say whatever you want. This is not pertaining to fighting, just life, man. So,
Okay.
in general, you're probably a healthy guy. Most of the athletes are. You're a professional fighter. What is your go-to cheat meal? Cheat, whatever it is, like something you're like, I know I shouldn't be eating this shit, but I like it.
Man. Honestly, my go-to isn't even really a cheat meal, but because it's fairly healthy, I'll overindulge in it. So then it kind of becomes a cheat meal because it's mostly fat, even though it's good fats. Dark chocolate, man, like 85% dark chocolate. Like that's
There you
man.
go. Nothing wrong with that.
I was eating something like so. Yeah. You know what I mean? I have some basically almost every day. You know what I mean? Like as long as I'm training hard, I have some every day. It helps me sleep because it boosts my serotonin levels and stuff. I'll eat some at night and then I'll sleep like a baby.
There you go. And you got a favorite movie, like one movie if you were on an island that's like your go-to movie.
Ooh man. Um, one movie. Wow. One movie. Passenger 57.
Oh, okay.
That movie is from back in the day, man.
Yeah.
57 or Rocky 4. It'll be one of those two. Passenger 57 or Rocky 4 for sure.
All right.
I know you said one, but there's so many out there, you know.
No, yeah. It's hard. Well, I mean, we've had everything from like we've had killers that are like, yeah, uh, like a cartoon, like some cartoon, like a Disney cartoon. You're like, really?
Yeah,
Like, all right. But hey, whatever, that's the thing. It's whatever clicks with you for whatever reason.
yeah,
Um,
sure.
what are you listening to music wise?
Man, honestly, I don't like as far as anything of today. I don't listen to it.
I hear that.
I don't know any of the new rappers. Probably the latest rapper that I'll listen to would be somebody like J. Cole. Other than, and I don't really even listen to him. I haven't heard any of his new stuff. Most of the stuff that I listen to, man, is from back in the day. You know what I mean? Like old
Yeah.
Tupac, or I listen to a little bit of Meek Mill. And I don't just like rap. I like all music for the most part. R&B, a little country music is nice. Some rock. Um, but yeah, man, I don't really listen to anything of today though.
Just the Thai music.
Yeah,
That well, oh that well, I just left there, so like the number one song was that damn. Oh man, it's gonna sound funny, but it's the nyak 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 that whatever the hell that song is. You know what I'm talking about? It's like
ah,
it's a
not
Thai dance song, and they play it everywhere. Oh, it's hilarious, but it just sounds
oh
funny as
yeah.
hell, and they're always laughing and stuff. Because I was there during SongCon too, and that was played everywhere. But yeah, just like Thai music, man. Thai music like that they listen to is just so fun, and it's like all energy.
Oh yeah, it is, man. Oh yeah, it's the dance, you know. It's the dance.
Yeah, and then they all dance crazy too, so it's always fun.
Yeah, yeah, it is fun.
All right, the last one that I got for you that we ask everybody is, do you believe in aliens?
Yes, man. Heck yeah, I believe in aliens, man. Come on, man. It's too much. There's too much to the world that like there's so much on Earth that we don't even know about. You know what I mean? Like the top scientists don't even know about. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then we got the sky above it. You know what I mean? Like we got the whole universe around us, man. There's got to be other life out there, intelligent life out there. You know what I'm saying? Man,
yeah,
and if we have more time, I'll go into like a theory about how bacteria was here before us, and you know what I mean. Maybe bacteria is a guy and all that. I'm not gonna get into it, but yeah, man, I believe in aliens for
well, I
sure.
say the same thing. I think we've had one person out of all of our guests. We got like 30 episodes now that said no, there's not. So, but everybody has a different idea of it, and it's even like I say all the time. I'm like, we're like, oh, there's other intelligent life form that we don't know about. Well, there's intelligent life form that we do know about. Dolphins can talk to each other. So,
Right, right.
what's to say like what is an alien and what's not? It's just because we've seen it. It's not an alien. Like what is alien? Is
Right,
alien just something that we haven't seen
right,
yet? So yeah,
right,
there's something else going on.
for sure,
Yeah.
definitely.
All right, Cyrus. Thank you so much, man. We're gonna let you go. I know it's getting later over there. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. We totally appreciate it. Shout out any of your social media, your gym. You got a website or anything like that? Just shout that out, and then I'll put it all in the description of the podcast also. So what do you have over there?
Okay, got www.fightevil360.com.
Cool.
We
Thanks a lot.
definitely
On.
appreciate it. I'll be back in Thailand in the next couple months. I'll definitely come through and see you. So,
Yeah,
be
come by,
cool.
stop by, man. Sure, let me know. Give me a heads up.
Yeah, definitely. Cyrus, again, thank you so much, man. It's been an awesome talking with you. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, guys. For real. Kap kun kap.
Have a good day, buddy.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right, buddy. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the #1 combat sports podcast, the Fight Chase Muay Thai and Mixed Martial Arts podcast. I got to thank Cyrus Washington for joining us. It was truly a pleasure. As always, if you want to support us, you can do so by going to anchor.fm/fightchase. Hit the support button, and as little as 99 cents a month, you can help support the podcast. Also, check out fightchase.com/shop for all your Fight Chase gear, and Fight Chase on social media. Also follow Kurt on Carson Kickboxing Club on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks, and have a great day. Kurt, you know what time it is. Don't say boom.
Boom.